All right, joining us right now is Michael Savage, radio talk show legend, host of The Savage Nation. He's also a New York Times best-selling author many times over. And he, too, was banned from traveling to a foreign country, that country being the United Kingdom. Michael, great to see you. Thanks for coming on, as always.
Thanks, John. A real pleasure to be on Newsmax TV.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about Omar and Rashida Tlaib. Before you talk about your own travel ban to the UK, Michael, clearly both women are trying to capitalize on this to push their anti-Israel agendas. And they've been exposed now. We know what their real motives were. We know this Mifta group, the group behind their trip, is anti-Israeli, anti-Semitic. But will the Democratic Party stand with the Squad or our longstanding ally Israel?
The real question to me, John, is how the Democratic Party has permitted themselves to be hijacked by these fanatical anti-Americans. Never mind how did they get into Congress. Do we know how that happened? How has the Democrat Party allowed these two in particular, now add an occasional Cortex, the stupid bartender from Queens, add the three of them together, and there's another one in the so-called Squad. The whole party basically is represented by them. How do they expect to win an election? Most of America doesn't hate America. Most of America supports Israel. This is not a University of California at Berkeley, America. It's not Harvard, America. So the real question is, how did Nancy Pelosi lose control of them?
That's the case, because if, they didn't have control of the Democratic Party, and I'm skeptical that they do, but if they didn't, they would have been named in that resolution that Congress voted on, that they watered down, condemning those who support this BDS movement. Now, let's talk about your travel ban. You were banned in 2009 from the UK, and I want to quote a LA Times article that was printed at the time. Among those for whom Britain has pulled up the welcome mat are radical Islamist preachers, a Jewish extremist, a pair of Russian gangsters, and at least 5 Americans, and Savage, who has attacked the Quran as a book of hate, 2 white supremacist leaders, and a father and daughter team that travels up and down the U.S. vilifying gay people. Did you ever get a specific reason why you were banned?
I spent $400,000 on British attorneys. We never could get an answer, but through a Freedom of Information Act, we got the emails that Gordon Brown, the then disgusting prime minister, had sent around. And what he said was, we need to ban Savage to make the list more representative. You see, they had banned Muslims who wanted to destroy England. So to make it look like they were an anti-Muslim, they chose me to cover up their banning of Muslims. It's in the emails that we got. That's the horrible truth. And this is an example of the current political crisis that was going on then and is now going on worldwide. Cover-ups running rampant in international politics, censorship used by the Marxist regimes in power, and a dangerous trend of globalism that sidelines the vox populi in favor of dictatorship. I was so upset by it at the time. People say, well, why don't you let it go? What do you care about being banned in England? Well, I can give you a joke, because the morning I woke up, I saw it on the Drudge Report and on. I didn't even know I had been banned. It's this talk show, Savage banned for entering England. I said, what? So I went on the radio that day and I said, God, there goes the British cuisine I was going to enjoy this summer and my dental care.
Yeah, but it's more fundamental than that, too, Michael. Don't you think? This is America, and you have the right to say things you want to say. And for another country to ban you from entering that without a specific reason, but ostensibly for things that you said, that just rubs, I think, a lot of people the wrong way.
Well, but let's look at this. These 2 horrible anti-American Muslim congresswomen were just banned from entering Israel. But they have long been enemies of Israel. They want Israel to disappear. Their maps show that. I've been nothing but an Anglophile my entire broadcast career. Right. I admire England, its traditions, its people. I was not going over there to foment any kind of hatred or to foment any kind of rebellion against the government. Contrast that with these 2 witches who were specifically going to Israel to rise up, make crowds go
and let's
crazy.
not forget, too, Michael, your job is to talk to the public. You're a media personality. They are elected members of Congress, so the bar is a little bit higher for them to not support the BDS movement, which is really what this is about. Not specifically what they said or even sharing those anti-Semitic cartoons they did over the weekend, but their support for this BDS movement. It's on the books in Israel, and Israel has a right to enforce their own laws. So that's...
Well, we know what the so-called boycott...
it's about the destruction of the nation of Israel, making sure it's no longer...
You're trying to turn Israel into South Africa. But what they really want to do is disappear Israel from the map. They want the Jews to be pushed into the sea or go to Europe or America. And they want it to become the desert hellhole that it was before the Jewish state was founded. Never forget that that land was occupied by the Israelis, meaning the Jews, since biblical times. They didn't just come from Europe with their valises after World War II. Jewish people had been in that area since biblical times. Judea, Samaria, it's in the Bible. So don't fall, you know this as well as I do. It's such a big Nazi lie to say Jews were interlopers. Jews were there, Arabs were there. And by the way, they more or less got along for centuries.
Yeah, and the question is now, will Democrats hold them accountable for the things that they've said most recently, including the things they said yesterday about cutting off our aid to Israel? All right, let's leave that aside for a second, Michael, because I want to get on to a couple other topics here. Let's talk about Jeffrey Epstein. There's still a lot of suspicion around his death right now. Will signed just 2 days ago, seemingly shoddy work by the prison guards. We always remind people that you are not just a master of the media arts, but you also hold a Ph.D. from Berkeley and the medical field. What is your take on Epstein's death?
He was killed. Okay, a few weeks before, they find him with marks on his neck, and he's screaming in the cell, and they remove his cellmate, who's this burly cop, right? It was right out of The Godfather. I played Godfather music on Monday and Tuesday of that week, where Don Corleone says to the other gangsters when they're having a peace meeting, "But I'm a superstitious man. I have a son who's in Sicily, and he comes home, if God forbid he should be shot by a cop or hang himself in his jail cell, then I will hold some men in this room responsible." It was right out of The Godfather. You have to be blind not to see that he was executed. Okay, I mean, to me it is. The whole thing is absurd, and it was done in plain sight, right in front of our eyes.
There are so many strange circumstances here. It makes it hard for people to believe the autopsy report, the medical examiner who says she believes it's a suicide. And you have renowned pathologists like Cyril Wecht, who's out there saying that he doesn't necessarily buy this. So we'll hear more about this as well.
Oh, did he come out and say he didn't buy it?
He's not. He's skeptical, like a lot of people that are out there right now.
It's a 13-part series out of it on Lifetime.
We'll be talking about this for years, so we'll leave that there for right now. But the other thing I want to talk to you about, too, President Trump taking on some of his former media allies in addition to his normal attacks on outlets like the Washington Post and the New York Times. He's now publicly feuding with his former communication director of 11 Days, Anthony Scaramucci. Take a listen.
I love the president, and I'm very, very loyal to the president. We won the presidency because of Donald J. Trump. He is an unbelievable politician.
If he cared what people said about him, there's no way he would be president.
I love the president, and I think a lot of you guys know in the media I've been very, very loyal to him. I've seen him in operation over the last 20-plus years. The president has really good karma, okay? And the world turns back to him.
President Trump tweeted this video of clips of the mooch showing his love for his former boss, adding that no one ever heard of this dope, quote, until he met me. He only lasted 11 days. What's going on here with this very public break between these two?
Obviously, this guy's looking for his 15 minutes of fame. He's looking for a book deal. And frankly,
he just published a great book about President Trump, saying how great President Trump is, how he appeals to the average human.
Just shows you how much veracity the man has to begin with. First he loves him, then he hates him. And by the way, what's Trump's great crime? Tell me what the great crime is. You know, an article came out today, I have to tell you about it, the issue of racism, right, that they're accusing Trump of. Trump never mentions race. Trump doesn't talk about race or racism. It's Anderson Cooper and the lying scum at CNN and the others in the media who constantly call Trump a racist. They are the ones who are steaming the fans, steaming up people in this country against each other, not Trump.
Yeah, they blame Trump for things that are said at his rallies. And he's come out, we've played these clips over and over of how many times Trump has condemned white supremacy, how many times he's condemned David Duke in the past. Doesn't matter how many times he says it, he's always blamed for being a racist. And even now, the Democratic candidates are blaming voters for being complicit in his racism. There is no middle ground, Michael. If you support President Trump, you are a racist, and that is the talking point from all the Democratic candidates.
They can go to hell. They're the racists. I know what they're doing. You know, this is a replay of the 1950s. Are you now, or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party? Are you now, or have you ever been a communist? Now it's, are you now? Well, we know you are a racist. That's the only thing they got. They're like 5-year-old sub-morons. And let me tell you what I came up with. to scream racism in a crowded nation is racism, and they better stop it real fast because they're going to steam up a civil war in this country.
Well, they don't seem to be willing to stop anytime soon. You know, one more thing, too, that President Trump is kind of taking a different tack than he has in the past. He's attacking Fox News as well, saying that a lot of things have changed. There's something going on at Fox, he said. I'll tell you right now, and I'm not happy about it. What do you think? Is President Trump right for taking on Fox? No.
Even though he is correct and that Fox is hedging its bet for after the election because nobody really knows who might win, right? He's wrong for attacking him. He needs every ally he can get, including Fox News, which has been his strongest supporter. What other network has supported him like this? Hannity practically carries his, I should say his water, but I don't think it's water he carried. Hannity has been his spokesman for years. What is he doing by attacking the #1 support structure he has? I will tell you this. I'm pissed off because he hasn't come on this show for a very, very long time. He goes on marginal, small shows. My audience was the significant difference between him winning and losing. He even put his arm around me in Mar-a-Lago and said, I wouldn't be president without this man. I don't understand it. Who's advising him to stay away from talk radio? However, he needs every friend he can get in order to win this election. I think anybody can agree with that.
Yeah, maybe he's taking the talk radio audience for granted. He shouldn't do that. It's a big election year. Can't take these folks for granted, Michael Savage.
Can I show you something that you don't even know about? This is worthy of another interview, which is my entire life story called The Savage Life. And take a look. Look who's in that book.
Donald Trump, right there. I've got, actually, Michael, we are going to have you back to do a special interview on the book. I have a copy of the paperback on my desk right now.
Oh, my God.
So we will have you back to talk about that book specifically. And, of course, always great to get your insight on whatever news.
Look at me with a semi-automatic rifle. Isn't that wonderful?
No, and I always tell people, too, and I look at the picture of you with your family there, if you all you know about Michael Savage is his radio show, get his books because you are a fantastic writer. I love reading your work, Michael. It's always refreshing.
I didn't mean to turn this into that, but I thought it's an important part of the whole story that we're talking about. I'm a friend of Donald Trump. I don't know why they've moved him away from me, and I think it's something to do with some of the people who pretend to be his friend on the inside, like Scaramucci did. But in a few months, you'll see they're outside attacking him. And I can tell you, I'll name 2 or 3 people at another time who I think are going to turn on him very soon.
That's a good tease, and we know it's coming. All right, Michael, great to see you as always. Michael Savage, host of the nationally syndicated talk show Savage Nation, New York Times bestselling author. Thanks for joining us, Michael.
Thank you, my friend. I really appreciate Newsmax TV.
We appreciate you as well.
Now.
Bye. You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing news channel, now in 65 million homes. Get Newsmax TV on all the major cable systems or go to NewsmaxTV.com and click on the Find Newsmax tab to locate us. Remember, Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.